Am I wrong for embarrassing my uncle by asking him to leave my wedding? I, 34 male, had my wedding yesterday with my wife, Lisa, 34 female. A lot of our relatives' friends attended, including my uncle, who's in his mid-80s. He's never cared about me since I was born, and has not checked in with me either. He was virtually non-existent throughout my life. Years ago, when we were homeless and required help, we reached out to him to lend us some money, help us find another house. He's really rich and has a lot of connections, but he refused anything and never bothered to ask what had become of us either. I didn't want to invite him to my wedding, but my parents said I had to, and in the end I did. He came along with his family, and before the wedding ceremony, he came to me and said, "Congratulations," and then stated, "Congratulations, I have also brought you an expensive present, unlike your loser of a father who cannot give you much of anything." I was shocked at the comment. He was just smiling at me, but I lost my temper and said I don't want anything from him. I yelled at him and asked him to F off from the wedding, etc. It resulted in a huge scene, and in the end he had to leave, along with his family who were also yelling at me. My other relatives present there are saying that I reacted very badly, etc. I'm wondering whether I did the wrong thing now. Am I the a-hole? Honestly, who even needs enemies when you have family members who are evil and very, very just terrible people? For you to see your brother and his kids struggling while you have money is literally disgusting. And then for you to make that comment to someone and then think it's funny, like, people think that just because they're old that people are gonna, disregard their disrespect. I don't know why old people think that way. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend she was being a pick-me girl and embarrassing herself? I, 22 female, am a part of a friend group whose families spend Christmas at a ski resort. We all met there as kids, teenagers, and became good friends over the years. Among us is my friend Amy, who has developed a terrible habit of mocking other girls who aren't very good at skiing. If it were just passing comment here and there about how silly and impractical some gear can be, I wouldn't mind it, but she's incensed. Earlier today, when we were all together at après-ski, she started with her comments again. That suit looks ridiculous. She's never skied a day in her life. Who wears a full face of makeup when skiing, etc.? Our guy friends were all laughing with her, but guess what? They were all trying their luck with the bad vain skiers later on. She was obviously not happy about it and tried to keep her rhetoric going in front of our new friends. But I pulled her aside and told her that she was embarrassing herself. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much she badmouths those girls. The guys will always go for the full bugner cute girl. Being a pick-me won't help her. After our talk, she immediately left and is now starting a big argument on our group chat. Am I the a-hole? I hate misogynistic men and women with internalized misogyny the same, because why would you as women, like, what satisfaction, well, obviously male validation is what they get out of it, but like, why would you feel the need for you to put down other women for a couple giggles from men who probably will never choose you? And it's so funny because when there's a woman who's a pick-me, and if you guys don't know what pick-me means, pick-me basically means like women who have internalized misogyny, so therefore they're always saying misogynistic things about women, and they're always putting down other women for the sake of male validation and male attention. That's what a pick-me girl means. But like, I as a woman, I've never, like, I'm 23 now, and I never once in my life, and I'm not even kidding, I'm not even saying this to say this, thought, oh, let me say something mean about another girl while a male was present. Like, I might say something bad about somebody behind their back, but I never said anything to about another woman to impress a man. Like, why would I want to do that? I believe in womanhood. I believe in sisterhood. I don't care if a woman is a terrible person. If a man or if a group of men are talking about her, I'm shutting that down expeditiously. Is that even a word, y'all? But I don't understand. Like, this friend did good, because I hate people who badmouth other people, but especially women who badmouth other women for the sake of male attention. And like, men will talk bad about a certain type of women, but those are the women that they want. Like, you know what I mean? They never choose to pick me. Pick-me's never get picked. So why would you want to be a pick-me if you know you're not going to get picked? Am I wrong for telling my uncle that I would never be a stepmom after seeing how his daughter treated my aunt? When I, 20s female, was 7 years old, I lost my parents and was sent to live with my bio aunt and her husband and his daughter, Kylie. Kylie was 10 when I moved in. She lost her mom when she was 5 or 6, and my aunt had been married to my uncle for a little over a year, so it was really difficult time for her. But I remember thinking Kylie might get what it's like a little, but she was very clear from day one we were not family. One thing that always stuck out to me was how Kylie really hated my aunt. My aunt couldn't ask Kylie to do anything without being yelled at. She couldn't do anything nice for her without getting glared at. She accused of disrespecting her mom by trying to play mom. She'd accuse her of doing stuff that she had no right to do. She'd tell my mom to know her place. My aunt always understood Kylie was grieving, and she pushed my uncle to make sure Kylie got enough time with him, but was also able to talk to him. They had her in therapy as well. My aunt told me once when I got upset on her behalf that some people, kids or adults, can find it hard to see their living parent move on and have a new relationship after they lost the other parent, and Kylie was struggling. A few months ago, I saw Kylie for the first time in 12 years, and she could not hide her still existing hatred for my aunt. The way she looked at her, I even heard her tell my uncle that my aunt was nothing to her, and all she did was attempt to steal a dead woman's entire family. It made me realize just how strong that resentment can be. I also know from my uncle's sister that Kylie is still furious my aunt ever tried to ask her to do anything or issued any kind of consequences for her behavior when she was a kid. The experience of living with them always made me say I didn't see myself ever wanting to date and marry someone with kids, but having seen her hatred for my aunt at 30, knowing she still resents my aunt for even daring to ask her to do something in the home, it made me realize that while it can work and some people have amazing blood in families, it's not for me. A few days ago, I came home back for Christmas, staying until the 28th. My uncle was talking about my boyfriend, and then he asked me about this guy at work who asked me out a couple of times and why I never gave him a chance since I thought he was cute, etc. I told him it just wouldn't work, but he kept pushing, and I told him it was because he had kids. He told me that was a strange reason when I want kids, and I said yeah, but after seeing how Kylie treated my aunt, I have decided I would never be a stepmom. My uncle was pissy about it and told me I can't swear off men with kids for that reason. And he said divorced and widowed parents deserve to find happiness again. I said they do, and I would never say they shouldn't have that, but I do not want to be that for them. He said it was rude for me to blame Kylie. Am I the a-hole? Personally, OP is not the a-hole, and I personally, speaking for myself, I would never want to be a step-parent. Maybe later in life, because I'm only 23 now, maybe later in life, in my 40s, my 50s, if I was to get a divorce, and obviously by that time, everybody else is going to be probably someone with kids, or people who had marriages that were no longer, I might be, because that's a different, at that time, you're in a different, place. But now, as a young 23-year-old woman, being that I've never been married before, I wouldn't want to choose being a step-parent for my first marriage. Hell, I wouldn't want to choose that for my second or third marriage. I don't want to be a step-parent. Being a step-parent just sounds like a lot of headache. Imagine a child hating you simply because their parents aren't together. And I feel like children always want their parents to stay together and their parents to work because everybody wants their family unit to work. You know what I mean? You cannot blame a child for wanting their household and their family, their mommy and their daddy to work and for them to be a family. And I just don't want to be caught in the crossfire, honestly. Am I wrong for telling my friend I'm not interested in being her son's father figure after she rejected me? I have this family friend, Lily. I had a crush on her when we were in our early 20s. I asked her out on a date, but she rejected me, saying that she only sees me as a friend. That hurt a lot. It hurt even more when 2 weeks after my proposal, she started dating some other guy, her ex-husband. But I decided to move on. I did date women, but I lost interest in them. I also lost touch with Lily. After 8 years, we met again and we reconnect. I decided to stay friends with her. She told me about her life. She has been divorced because her ex cheated on her and then abandoned her and her son. I was sympathetic towards her. I decided to shoot my shot again, but she told me she's not interested in dating now. She only wants to focus on her son. That hurt a lot. Imagine being rejected by the same girl twice, but this time I decided to be mature and maintain friendship with. Even if she decides to date another douche, it wouldn't bother me. Now, a few days ago, her son got into a fight with some kids. They were making fun of him because his dad left. He had bruises, and according to Lily, he has been very moody. And then she asked me a question that somehow pissed me off. She asked me to talk to her son. Yes, when we started bonding as a friend, I also hung out with her son. She asked me, since I am a man and I probably went through bullying and absentee father, maybe I can give her son some insights on how to cope with it. She says she understands her son's frustration that his father abandoned him and the family. Maybe having someone like me who overcame that frustration and managed to deal with it will help him. I told her no, I do not responsibility of her child. because I am not his father and we are not even dating. So asking me to have this responsibility is out of question. I can tell she was mad. Later that day, she texted me and said that she doesn't want me in her life, that she wasn't asking me to provide any child support. She wasn't asking me to take responsibility. She only asked for my help because she thought as her friend I would help her out, and even her son liked me. I shared this with some of my friends. Some of them called her a gold digger because she's a single mom. Some of them told me I was rude. I should have just talked to her son. So what is it? Men like this really irritate me because they're the ones that go and turn around and say things like, well, I'm a nice guy. Why don't women want me? You're not her friend. She's right. Because if you were her friend, she's not asking you to build the kids. She's not asking you to buy him things. As a friend, even if this was a woman, she'd be like, hey, my son and you get along. I'm his mommy. Kids don't listen to their mothers when they're, young kids. So can you please talk to him for me? That's all she said. Like, if you were her friend, you would have done that for her. But you're not her friend. You are around her in the hopes that she changes her mind and wants to date you. And I knew he was bitter when he said, oh, well, this time we're going to be friends, even if it hurts me to see her with another douchebag. You're not her friend, and I'm so glad she got rid of you. OP is totally 100% wrong. And how the hell is she a gold digger? Isn't the whole point of being a gold digger is to pursue the gold? She literally denied it 2 times. She does not want you. Am I the a-hole? My partner called me fat for Christmas. My 21 female partner, 20 male, had been very sweet in the past. He made me feel like the most beautiful girl in the world. Before I had met him, I struggled with eating disorders and was too skinny. I had become ill with a chronic illness and now have various health conditions leading me to gain weight and making it very hard to get any weight off. I was bedridden for months. He met me when I was larger. He never looked at me like I was anything less than the most beautiful girl to him, and always showered me with love and compliments. Though I was overweight, he would never had even thought about me like that. We had spoken about it, my weight loss, and looking back comparing to how I look now. He had said I was fat, and even said himself that he never even noticed how big I was because he just saw how beautiful I am. Now, the problem recently is that though I have lost a lot of the fat, he now looks at me like I'm huge. He micromanages my eating and my weight, and it feels like I'm constantly getting picked on or picked apart. He doesn't look at me or treat me like he used to when I was big. I made a post talking about this and how on Christmas I ate more than I usually would. And because I'm still affected by my disorders, I immediately viewed myself as 4 times larger after overeating. My partner is currently in interstate. We FaceTimed to discuss our days, and we talked for a while before the topic of food came up, and I knew I was about to be in trouble for eating. I just ate a meal with family and friends and a couple treats I wouldn't usually have. So it came. He judged what I eaten and said that just because it was Christmas doesn't mean I had to eat so much, because he had responded like this and how he had been talking to me about my weight lately. I asked him out of frustration if he thought I was fat. He made a couple weird noises looking me up and down and in my stomach for a while before sounding like he was going to say yes. I felt a lump in my throat and turned the camera away from me so he could no longer see me. It was devastating, and I felt that feeling of needing to starve myself that I used to feel when I was deep in my disordered ways. That's really it. Now the comments on the OG post made me question if I'm somehow an a-hole for snapping and asking him if he thought I was fat. Did I do something wrong by that? Am I the a-hole? I don't think OP is the a-hole at all, because I really hate when people get with someone and unless you're blind, unless you're Stevie Wonder, I'm pretty sure if you have eyes, you can see how the person looks before you decide to get into a romantic relationship with them. You already know how this person looks like. You can already see, their physical. Why would you then get into a relationship with them and then pick them apart and say you don't like how they look, or there's talk about how you don't like certain things on their body? That's just so disgusting and distasteful. If you don't like fat women, then don't get in a relationship with fat women. And if you got into a relationship with someone and you originally liked them for who they were, then continue to do so, or just simply break up with them. Because this idea of telling someone and picking someone's whole body apart 24/7 just is gonna make the person insecure and go crazy, and then lead them to crazy dieting and crazy, just overall a bad mental health. Please, we're all grown adults. Am I wrong for telling my boyfriend that there's a reason he is alone and no one likes him after he spent the entire weekend insulting me? My boyfriend, 33 male, is estranged from his family and doesn't have any friends. When we met, it set off a few red flags, but he seemed like a generally good guy, and I chalked him to just being a loner.
Over the next 2 years, he was great 95% of the time. And in that 5%, he was like a complete different person. Mean, nasty, cruel, and just overall a horrible person. He would call me slurs, fat, ugly, and other things to the point where I would mentally shut down. Then he would come to me and do everything he could to make me feel better. So this past weekend was one of the 5%. I think he's angry that his family excludes him out but would never say it. He badmouths them all the time to the point where it becomes exhausting. So as he was badmouthing them, he said something like, at least when his grandma dies and he gets his inheritance, he will never have to deal with them again. I told him that was a horrible thing to say, to which he said that he cares more about the money than anyone in his family except for his parents. That's when I told him he is effed in the head. He spent the next 48 hours braiding me, calling me every name you can think of, texting me nonstop while I was with my family, and just being hurtful. Yesterday, I texted him Merry Christmas, and he responded with, suck a, you know what. I don't know why, but that made me madder than at any other point. So I told him he is a miserable, hateful person, and it's no wonder no one likes him. He has no real qualities except for his looks and money. He's a disgusting, shallow human being and will grow old and die alone, and no one will give a F. He replied with LOL, and that was that. He's still my boyfriend, and my friend said I was an a-hole and went too far. I'm not sure if I am or not. OP is not the a-hole, and it sounds like she needs to get a new boyfriend or just stay single, because this is really abusive. Like, for him to, like, imagine someone bullying you and abusing you to the point that you have a mental breakdown or you shut down mentally. That's not a little thing that you just gloss over. I can't believe she just said, oh, well, he's nice all the time except the 5% when he mentally abused me to the point that I shut down. Like, girl. I don't know, but these type of situations always lead to someone ending up, unalived. Then it's usually the abusee, not the abuser. So I hope does that make any sense? I hope OP gets the courage to leave this douchebag. And hell, no wonder why he is lonely and bitter. He's probably taking out all his resentment and anger on his girlfriend. He's such a loser. Am I wrong for telling my sister that having another baby would be a dumb idea? Sister and brother-in-law, both 28, have been married 2 years and have a 4-year-old child. Recently, their marriage has been on the rocks because of some issues that I will not disclose in detail, but they have to do with brother-in-law not being sure of his feelings for my sister, and my sister wants to try and save it by having another child with my brother-in-law. When she confessed this to me, I was pretty much horrified, and I think she could tell what I thought. But just to be sure, I told her that her idea was pretty dumb, because if it didn't work, she would have to raise 2 children alone on her small monthly salary instead of just the one that she has right now. And even if he did decide to stay, their issue would still be unresolved and would eventually come up again. I suggested discussing things with him and eventually trying marriage counseling if he does decide to stay, but I could tell that she was hurt and not convinced. Was I too harsh? OP is definitely not the a-hole. I don't understand people who have kids because they think that the child is going to save their marriage. If you communicating and talking to the person doesn't save your marriage, why would an innocent poor child save your marriage? And at the end of the day, it's going to be crazy when that man leaves you and now you're going to be resentful and hateful towards that poor baby because apparently you only had it to save your marriage and the baby didn't save your marriage, because babies don't save marriages. They're literal human beings that come with a lot of responsibilities. And if you're not ready for that commitment and responsibility, then don't have the baby, because babies are human beings. I don't understand people. I feel like sometimes people act like children are just some toys that you buy from Toys R Us and then you could just fiddle with. And then if you don't like it, you could just treat however you want it to treat. They don't act like kids are human beings that you have to be committed to, that have so much things going on that you have to have a lot of patience, a lot of just responsibilities that you have to take care of. Oh, I'm gonna have a baby because my man doesn't want to be with me no more, so in order for him to be with me, I'm gonna have a baby to make him stay. Do you see how you sound? And I'm so glad OP told her sister the reality, because she sounds dumb. Am I wrong for canceling my aunt's invitation to my wedding when she traveled the world to attend it? My husband and I, 26 female, got married 3 weeks ago. My husband is from South Africa, but I am French. So our wedding in the savannah in South Africa was a huge trip for 13 fresh guests. We rented a beautiful lodge where you see lions, elephants, etc. And to thank everyone for coming all this way, we rented it for 2 days. Day 1, wedding. Day 2, pool party. We only invited 30 people, the people we love. I had a huge argument with my aunt, 38 female, 8 years ago, and we cut ties ever since. But during the invitations, I thought about how close we used to be. I decided to invite her. There was no +1 for anyone, so I only invited my aunt, not her partner or her kid, since I barely knew their names. My aunt said she was happy but insisted that we invite them. I told her no, but my mom teamed up with her and pressured me a lot during the year. I explained that the ceremony meant everything to us and that we only want people we love to be present. But my aunt booked flights for her but also for her family. She said it was a family trip but added that she heard some of my guests canceled so that there is now space for her family. I told her that it would not be happening but that her family could join us for the pool party the next day. After that, I got even more pressured by mom into inviting them for the wedding itself because they are coming all this way. But I kept refusing and tried to finish my dress without my mom. On the big day after the ceremony, my husband and I left for an hour in the savannah with the photographers to make a few photos. As soon as we came back to the lodge, my aunt came to me smirking. She was holding her kid. Her partner was behind her. I'm not the scandal type. I didn't know how to react, and in my disbelief, I kissed the kid hello and shook head with her partner. I immediately felt sad for not defending myself. I then heard my mom and grandma telling my aunt about the extra chairs and food we had and that her family must stay for dinner. My sister lied for me, saying we don't have enough chairs because some are broken. So my aunt announced that they were leaving. I asked why leaving with them. She was supposed to stay for dinner and they're only 5 minutes away. She replied that she never intended to stay for dinner, but that she will spend time with us when they come back tomorrow for the pool party. I was shocked. I replied that I had a change of plans and that she and her family could not come for the next day anymore. My mom, usually lovely, lost it and told me that I had no right to cancel my aunt's invitation to the pool party. I reminded her that we paid for the whole wedding and ourselves and that she has no say in who I host. And I walked away, but she yelled at my back in front of everyone. She was screaming that the conversation was now over and that I better come back. My sister tried to physically bar my mom from running after me. I still stood my ground and kept my aunt from coming back the next day. Am I the a-hole? I personally think OP is definitely the a-hole because when she told the aunt, oh, she can come to the wedding, and the aunt said, I'm going to bring my family, she could have just simply said, no, I don't want you to do that. Don't come then. And she just should have just revoked her invitation. Because clearly the aunt and her were not, it's not like the aunt and her were close to begin with. So her feelings didn't matter to OP, obviously. But why would she invite the lady to come all the way down there, spend all that money, and then revoke her invitation to the thing that she actually invited her to, which was the pool party after the wedding? I don't get it. Like, OP is just doing way too much. Am I wrong for refusing to pay for the damages caused by my sister-in-law proving a point? My boyfriend and I, 23 female, are currently taking care of Nina, 15 female, my boyfriend's half-sister because her parents will be out of town for a couple of months. I'm an average build, but most of my paternal side are very tall and heavily built. Nina is not short, but she's willowy, and she looks very delicate and fine-boned. Nina has been doing a couple of forms of martial arts since she was 7 or 8. A couple days ago, I took Nina with me to pick up a few things at my uncle's. My cousin Ted arrived early from another city, so we stayed so I could catch up with them a bit. Everyone welcomed Nina and asked her how was her life in another city and her hobbies and whatnot. My cousins Ted, 22 male, and Cole, 17 male, were openly staring when Nina told him that she does martial arts. Ted used to wrestle in high school, and Cole is on his school's varsity team. They said it was great she took martial arts to defend herself, but suggested a couple objects as she could use against really big, strong guys she may be unable to handle. Nina says sizes don't matter and she can protect herself against attackers of all kinds. Again, Ted and Cole stared at her and asked if she seriously thought she could protect herself against someone their sizes. Ted was 6'4" and Cole was 6'3", both over 200 pounds. Cole then asked Nina to go to the living room and told her to try to fend him off. We watched as Nina dodged Cole's grasp until he managed to hold her ankle and brought her down. She tripped him and in return tried to shake him off while he tried to pull her to him. In the process, they pulled the rug, which upset a table, knocking it into another table, and the vase on it fell to the floor broken. My aunt came downstairs and gave everyone involved a scolding, telling them that the house was no place for fight. She then said Colt and I owed her a new vase. I told her that this was all on Cole, who suggested they fight in the first place. Cole also said it was on him, but my aunt wouldn't have it. She said that this was a teaching moment for Nina to own up to her mistakes. Nina offered to pay, but I refused to let her pay. Ted stepped in and said he got his mom a new vase for Christmas, so this was a perfect timing and there was no need to make this a big deal. Nina and I left, and my boyfriend agreed we shouldn't have to pay. My aunt later called me and said I was being selfish and that the vase wasn't even expensive, but it was the principle of things that when you broke stuff, you need to take responsibilities. Am I the a-hole? I feel like OP would have been the a-hole had Nina said, "Oh, let's go to the living room and I'll show you guys what I can do." Then that would be like, she's the one who suggested it. But the boy suggested it. He's a grown man and he should know better to roughhouse in the house when things can be easily broken. So I don't think OP is wrong at all. Am I wrong for not wanting to accept my husband's affair child? My husband and I have been married for 7 years, happily I thought. We have 2 girls, 5, 4, and 2 boys, 2 and an unborn. He's due any day. I lost my job back in March due to pandemic, and it's been so nice being a stay-at-home mom to the kids. Our first child is due any day now, and about 2 days ago I received a bombshell. My husband had an affair. It broke me to the core. He's the love of my life. Then he hit me with the second part of the news. They had a baby about a month ago. He's about 2 months early and in intensive care, and his mother is an addict and was arrested, and they want custody to go to my husband. He told me I let myself go all these months and that it was a moment of weakness. He's telling me that we could still be a happy family and that his baby needs a father. Am I the ill for not wanting any of this? His side of the family is calling me a monster for turning away a child in need. I feel like I'm living a nightmare. So there's no apology. It's just blaming her for something that he did and trying to gaslight her for taking care, because I know damn well she's going to be taking care of the baby, for a baby that is literally the product of a betrayal. Damn. Am I the a-hole for how I responded to my sister's miscarriage? I, 30 female, have an older sister, 32 female. We're honestly not close in adulthood, and we did not get along as well as kids. We see each other a few times a year at family gatherings that include our parents, grandparents. We don't really text, call, or talk check in otherwise. It's a civil service level relationship and I don't mind it. My sister, however, doesn't put any effort into the relationship than I do, but I think she has unrealistic expectations of our relationship. My sister doesn't put effort into our relationship on a regular basis, but during times of need, she expects me to flip a switch and place a star for her at her convenience. Example, she got married 2 years ago and she was up my ass for the year prior to her wedding because she needed me for all of my MHO duties that I was doing for her. MHO means maid of honor. 2 days after the wedding, I couldn't even get a text back from her. This is just how things go between us. This is just how things go between us. She feels very entitled to a one-sided relationship with me at her discretion. However, I really don't care to participate in that. A year ago, she reached out to me to tell me she miscarried by text. I told her I was sorry to hear this and I was thinking of her and her husband. I'm not close with her. We hadn't spoke for a few months prior to that because we don't regularly talk, and I thought this was plenty enough based on their relationship we have. However, she became extremely upset with me, and things have not been cool since. She has lashed at me so many times and my fiance, claiming I'm nasty, insensitive, and the most horrible person she's ever met. She says I should have said more, done more, etc., but can't articulate what exactly she expected out of me. It's been so bad that she couldn't attend my wedding last month, and we had to have separate Christmases, and this is pretty much a hill that she's willing to die on. I don't understand what I did, nor does my fiance or any of my friends. Thoughts? Honestly, I don't understand either. I don't get what OP wanted from her sister. I feel like when it comes to big news, it just I don't know what exactly did she expect her to say, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, my condolences, I hope you feel better." That's what I would say to a stranger or anybody that I'm not that close to, because what exactly are you supposed to say or do for somebody whom you're not close to? And then somebody, especially somebody who only wants you or calls you or even remembers you when they're in need, like, that's just annoying. But miscarriages are terrible, but still, I don't understand what she wanted OP to do. Am I wrong for kicking out my mother-in-law out of my house on Christmas Day? I, female 41, has been with my partner
male of 53, let's call him Dan, for over 5 years. This year, my oldest son passed away too young. I have been in therapy and have a great mental health team keeping me semi-functional as I navigate through this season. We found out Thanksgiving that I'm not handling things well, so the team really stepped up to keep my mental health in check. Fast forward weeks before Christmas, my mother-in-law sends text inviting us for Christmas. Dan asked me about it and I told him I don't want the obligation. I don't know how I'll feel that day. We expressed my concern and feelings. Nothing back until Christmas Eve. She texted me asking if we were coming tomorrow. I told her if I had to make a choice now, then no. If I can handle things tomorrow, we will call and bring food so no one is panicked to make food. She lives 3 hours away. Explained my emotional breaking percent manic episodes that have compounded the issues I'm struggling with daily, that the doctor changed meds but takes time to get into system. My world is shattered and she said, well, you need to get away from the memories for a day. I again told her, no, I just can't handle being around people right now. It's too hard to be functional at the moment. Christmas morning, I'm wrapped in a blanket with a picture of my 2 boys crocheting a blanket to help my stress in PJs. It's like 1 p.m. when no knock, just entered her door code and walked right in, saying she figured since we weren't going to her house that we would be cooking at home, and this is usually the time when it's done. So they, my mother-in-law and husband, are here to spend time with us and have dinner. Literally, I look at Dan and not in a soft voice said, what the F is your mother doing here? As if she wasn't even there. I lost my ish. Tears were just streaming down in anger. This woman disrespected my home and my wishes to handle my grief my way. I told her to get out and never step foot in the house again. No, I said never, but I'm a softie. I mean never for right now. Mother-in-law leaves and Dan starts about how I was too hard on her. She is well in her 70s and may not have long to go. We never know. That was an a-hole for kicking her out when all she wanted to do was spend time with us and comfort me. I am not having it. That level of disrespect and carelessness is unforgivable at the present time. Dad and I sat down and talked after everything quieted down and he sees why I'm so hurt and upset. In turn, he said he will stand by me on my terms of when she's allowed back in the house. Mother-in-law went back pulling the full victim card with the rest of the family. So now the rest of the family are all pissed at me, saying I am a B-word and a-hole for breaking mother-in-law's heart and keeping her son from spending precious holidays together. Am I the a-hole? I personally don't think LP is the a-hole. When you're grieving, especially like someone that close to you, you can, things are different. I feel like people just need to understand boundaries. Grandma might want to spend time with her her daughter-in-law and her son, but at the end of the day, she has to also understand that the daughter-in-law is going through a lot right now, considering she is a mother who lost her child. Like, that is a big deal. My husband posted my body online. Last Friday, I, 34 female, spent my evening with obligatory fake name Kate, a young friend, 24 female, from work as she wanted to discuss something personal with me. I didn't think anything of it as we do have a very personal relationship outside of work as well. As soon as I arrived to her place, the tension in the air was thick. She explained that she wanted to discuss a serious matter with me, but that she didn't know how to go on about it. I told her just to rip the band-aid off and tell me. She told me that she had found 2 recordings of women she believed to be me on a explicit site. I told her that wouldn't be possible, but she was adamant that I was the woman in the recording. And she was right. I never recorded myself naked or sleeping with my husband, but there I was in 2 recordings of 7 minutes and 4 minutes, both of them recorded in our old bedroom. As I rewatched every second of it, it started to dawn on me that this was my husband's doing, but I pushed it deep down because there must be a reasonable explanation for this. Honestly, I left her place with my mind in a complete meltdown. I could barely hear what she was saying, but she did follow up with a text saying that she's been in contact with the website about getting it taken down and that she'll help me go through this. She also said she's scoring the internet in case there are more out there. I came home and pretty much ransacked my house looking for evidence and I found it. My husband was using a hidden spy camera to spy on me and record me in my most intimate moments. I then just spent hours vomiting, crying, projectile vomiting some more, and begging God just to let this be a nightmare. I am a deeply deeply religious and fully veiled Muslim woman, and I've never been with anyone but my husband. And all this time, he has been sharing my most intimate moments with the world. I don't know what to think or what to do. I can't look at him or speak to him. I've locked myself in a bedroom pretending I have COVID. All I do is look up how other people have dealt with getting things removed. And it seems like once it's on the internet, it really is forever, even if I remove it from this website. I've been crying nonstop. He truly must be something demonic, as he's right now talking about ordering in some of my favorites to see if I have an appetite since I haven't been eating well.
I'm so unbelievably hurt. I don't know how to share this with my family. Had to ask for help. I am crippled with shame, anger, and pain. Answering some questions. 1. My husband's soon-to-be ex-husband and I are the same religion, race, ethnicity, and nationality. 2. My culture does not participate in honor killing, and I'm not afraid of my family harming me or not siding with me. 3. My family would support me in divorcing him. In fact, they would demand I do. 4. The laws of my country are secular, but in certain circumstances, it allows for the various religious groups in the country to hold their own courts that can enforce their rulings, as long as it doesn't impose or break secular law or civil liberties. 5. I do plan on taking this to secular court and religious court, as I want him punished. 6. I am veiled by choice, and the vast majority of my fellow countrywomen do not veil. 7. I am a niqabi, meaning the only part visible to the public are my eyes. When I am with my family or with other women in women-only spaces, I don't veil. 8. Kay and I do not share the same religion nor dress alike, and yet we are friends. I feel so bad for P. I really hope she finds the healing that she's seeking, because this is literally a nightmare come true, and her friend is a very good friend. Am I wrong for kicking my daughter out of my house for being pregnant? I, 45 female, have a 27-year-old daughter. She has 6 kids between the ages 10 to 11 months. There are 3 different fathers. She receives child support from 2 of them, and she's still with the 3rd one, and they have been for 5 years. My daughter works part-time, and her fiance is a full-time chef. They have lived with us for the past year and a half due to getting evicted from their last home. The kids and them have our upstairs bedrooms. There's 2, but they're still crowded for 6 children. They are constantly asking me for help with phone bills. My husband and I have asked for no rent so they'd be able to save money to get a home, which I do not believe they are doing. I have put up with loud voices throughout all hours and waking up at different hours to cater to children because I love my grandchildren. I never complain to my daughter because I believe family is very important. It's just that my children are all grown up. My youngest moved out 4 years ago, and my husband and I had hopes to remodel. We didn't expect them to be living here this long. On Christmas Eve, my daughter gathered us all around and announced they were pregnant with baby number 7. Everyone was all excited, but I felt dread. That would mean another child in our house with not much room. I looked over at my husband and could tell he felt the same. We discussed later and decided we were going to have to ask them to move out. Last night at dinner, I brought up to my daughter and her boyfriend, and we told them they have 2 months to find a place because we cannot have another child here. My daughter started crying, saying she couldn't believe I'd throw her to the streets for having a baby, that this was completely unfair and not enough time. I told her I was sorry, it was painful for me as well, but these living conditions were impossible. She demanded I give her more time or she'd go to the court, and I told her, newsflash, the court only gives you 30 days. She then said my grandchildren were going to be homeless because I was selfish. She made a Facebook post asking for rooms to rent because she's pregnant and has nowhere to go, and her family don't give a ish about her. Am I the a-hole? How is the grandma selfish? Wouldn't that be the mom who's having kids that she already knows she can't afford? Like, I will always die on this hill, and I know people are gonna say, oh, you think poor people don't deserve kids. Yes, I don't think if you can't afford to take care of a child, you don't deserve a child, because children are not something that you deserve. You can afford to take care of a child all you want, but if you're not mentally and emotionally equipped to, you don't deserve to have any kids. Like, children are full-blown human beings. They're not dolls you have because you think you deserve them. Like, I don't know why I always have to say this. People are so, like, I don't know, slow. Either am I wrong for not letting my parents-in-law see my baby because of their childish behavior? Hi, me, 22 female, and my boyfriend of 4 years, Jay, 24 male, recently had a baby. He is now 5 weeks old, very sweet. When we announced the pregnancy, everyone was happy for us, except my mother-in-law. When we told her, she cried and she said she wasn't ready to be a grandma yet. My pregnancy wasn't the greatest. He was 3 weeks early. The day after delivery, my dad and his girlfriend visited the hospital. My dad held him for like 5 minutes after asking, and when they were about to leave, my mother in law came rushing through the door. She ran towards my boyfriend who was holding our son. She basically ripped him from his arms and took off. All four of us were in shock as we couldn't believe what just happened. Since we didn't want to make a scene, we let her hold him until we decided it was time to leave because we were all exhausted. She left. Still in shock, I told my BF to please have a talk with her in a few days to tell her how inappropriate that was and to please ask when she wants to hold the baby. He did. A few days later, we finally able to go home. My parents-in-law visited us shortly after. Our son was asleep. When he woke up and started crying, my BF went to the bedroom. His mom rushed after him and tried to grab him again, to which my BF said that he was going to change the diaper and she can't have him right now. A few minutes later, she left our apartment crying. My BF tried texting and calling, but she didn't answer. About 2 weeks later, she texted him saying she missed my BF like nothing happened. On Christmas, we were invited to her house for breakfast. We had a great time, or so I thought, until his mom disappeared. My BF said she left the house crying again. I honestly had no clue why. The baby was asleep the whole time, and he had a tummy ache. I was holding him for 5 minutes until he fell back asleep. After an hour of being gone, we decided to leave. We said goodbye to my father-in-law, and my BF said if she's ready to talk it out, she knows my number. To which he replied she isn't going to call. My BF asked him what he meant by that, and he just answered, we know what we did, and we should think about our behavior. I intervened and asked him what the problem was and what we did wrong, and he just screamed in my face how horrible we are treating them, and that we are withholding their grandson from them, and that he specifically is not allowed near the baby. He also called me a horrible mother and person for standing in between my BF's family and our little family, which I never did. I told him that I was not going to let him scream at me, so we left. After this, me and my BF had a talk. I told him I was over this and I'm not having talks with people like them in my child's life, to which he completely agreed. My parents, however, think that I am being cruel. So am I the a-hole? Definitely not. OP's parents-in-law are being a bit weird. Like, why are you storming the room, grabbing the baby, and then storming out of the house or the hospital crying? Like, what the hell? If you have something to say, just say, I have this and this, I'm feeling this and this. Just say that you're a grown adult. You would think, funny thing about people is, you would think the older you get, the more you would know how to communicate your emotions and your thoughts. But people just get older and dumber.